From a fairly young age, I was always into true crime. The fascination wasn't the crime itself, but more so the people who were committing said crime. The older that I got, obviously the more knowledgeable I became, and true crime became even more intriguing. By the time my parents were hounding me about college, I had already decided what I wanted to do. I wanted to be a police officer. While I was interested in the psychology behind perpetrators, the feeling was overpowered by wanting to stop them. I wanted to save the next person from a psychopath spiral. Being just a bright-eyed kid, I wasn't expecting all of the grunt work and rookie-only assignments. They mainly consisted of getting coffee or pastries for the officers at the station. The only real police work that I got to do for the first 6 months was pulling people over. I know that can be dangerous in itself, but I wanted more. Honestly, I always felt bad having to write a ticket for someone who was genuinely in a hurry. I didn't feel like I was helping anyone. I never encountered someone committing a felony either, but I realize now that I was just lucky that I didn't. I pushed to be the best. I never missed a day. I covered everyone's shifts. My reports were always on time. I became an excellent shot. I took lessons from well-known behavioral analysts. Just shy of my 29th birthday, I was hired as a special agent for the FBI. I had finally reached my dream job. I was more than proud of myself, and so were my parents. In the beginning, I thought I was at the highest point in my life. Nothing could ever take this away from me. I had worked hard for this position, but over time, that feeling started to fade. Taking the homicide route in the FBI, I knew every folder that my superior flung on my desk was something, well, not good. If your case ended up on my desk, that meant you were deceased and the county and state police needed our help. So you can imagine the horror that I went through for years. Countless sleepless nights trying to find some sick person, over and over. Some worse than others, but they all stung the same. When you finally catch the sick person who committed such unspeakable acts, all that pain goes away. It's replaced by anger, and even after you hear the judge sentence them to life, sometimes it's still just not enough. I did this for over 25 years. At some point, I think I just became numb. It's almost like you have to, or you will never be able to do your job. I've worked so many cases I thought nothing could surprise me, until that one morning. I could see my superior walking towards me with an unusually thick, beige folder. He put it on my desk and asked me to review it and return it to his office. The first thing I saw were the pictures. My stomach instantly became sour. It wasn't a body, but let's just say the once white and cream apartment had multiple splatters and puddles of crimson. Putting the photos aside, I started to read the report. Name: Tabitha Gallo. Age: 18. Gender: female. Weight: 115 pounds. Height: 5'3". Date of birth: April 3rd, 1992. Missing since August 15th, 2010. Tabitha was last seen leaving a party with a group of friends when she supposedly ran off due to a conflict with one of her peers. She was said to have been seen drinking and insisted someone was following her at the party. 5 witnesses that we interviewed said they saw a man in his mid-late 40s repeatedly try to approach Tabitha. Each witness recalls Tabitha relaying awkward gestures to the man before walking away from him. 2 witnesses recalled Tabitha returning to a counter where she had left her drink. No one recalls seeing the man after Tabitha returned for her beverage. August 15th was only 3 days ago at the time. Not only was it highly unusual for me to receive a missing persons case, since I was a part of the homicide unit, but it had only been 3 days. I flipped through witness statements, interviews from said friends, and transcripts of the 911 call their mother had placed when she never returned home. It was the back of the folder that caught my surprise. In the back of the folder were pieces of a small notebook paper in plastic bags. I remember thinking it was extremely odd that they would put evidence in any folder. Attached to the plastic bags was a sticky note. "Put on gloves," it read. I opened my left cabinet and pulled out a pair of latex gloves. As I put them on, a sense of dread washed over my body. I could feel myself getting pale. Inside the plastic bags were handwritten notes. Most were dirty, but some of them had blood. They were confirmed to be Tabitha's handwriting. It said they were found along the highway at gas stations. Now, this was a very rural area, so the highway in question went through multiple states. Each one of these gas stations were also very far from one another. Each letter was in order. The day after she went missing, the first note was made, dated for the 16th. It read, "Please help me. I'm with a man who's hurting me. I was at a party last night and was kidnapped. Please send help. Please." The note was bloodied and the writing seemed to get more frantic towards the end. I carefully slipped the note back into the plastic bag. I reached for the next note and pulled it out. It was dated for the 17th. It read, "I'm lost and I don't know where I am anymore. I don't know what to do. He keeps giving me medicine. It's making me forget things and I can't forget. I need to keep writing. Someone will find this. Someone will help me. I'm scared. I don't want to die." Vomit filled the back of my throat, but I kept it down. I slipped the notes back into the plastic bag, and I pulled out the last note. I admit, even after 25 years of seeing brutal attacks and deranged motives, my hands were trembling. The last note was dated for the current day, the 18th. The note was bloodier than the rest, but not torn or crumpled. It wasn't dirty either. It read, "He's going to kill me. I know he is. I want it written down what he did to me." This part of the note was very graphic, but she explains the torture that she had endured over the last few days. It's inhuman, it's disgusting, and I won't repeat it. "I want my mother and father to know how much I love them. And I'm grateful for the time God has given me. I don't want to go like this, but my body is failing. I'm sorry, I couldn't be stronger." Tears rolled down my face. A man in his mid-50s sobbing. After I got myself back together in the bathroom, I went to see my superior. Trying to keep my normally stern composure, I entered his office. "Special Agent Keynes, please take a seat," he said calmly. I walked over to the wooden chair that sat in front of his oversized desk, and I sat down. "Why are you assigning me a missing persons case? I don't deal with these sort of crimes," I asked respectfully. "You've been assigned to fly out to Ohio to continue this case. The Ohio State Police found the last letter today and called us. They said it's beyond what they can do. They need our help." His posture remained still, and he sounded almost robotic. "Sir, respectfully, if there is no body, there's no need for me or my unit to fly out there. This should be the Department of Missing Persons case," I said as kindly as I could. The real reason I didn't want to take it was because I knew why I didn't make it to the Missing Persons unit. "They believe she's no longer alive based on new evidence. There's still no body, but county police found a trail of blood matching the victims. It's a lot, if you get what I'm saying. Look, you're the best homicide detective that we have. If anyone can find her body, it's you." His posture loosened, and his words started to sound like a plea. "All right," I said reluctantly. "I'll pack my things." "Good. Your flight leaves in 2 hours. Call me when you land." His posture was straight and words were stern again. "Yes, sir," I replied as confidently as I could. 2 hours was not a lot of time. I packed everything I needed from my desk and headed home and grabbed clothes, hygienics, and left for the airport. It was only a 3-hour trip. During my flight, all I could think about was that girl. A middle-aged man scared to death of something I've done a million times. This was different though. I was sent out to find a body and a psychopath who's also a possible murderer. I couldn't sit still the entire time. I couldn't even look out the window, because all I could think about was if I was flying over her while she pleads for help. When I finally landed, I was greeted by Ohio State and County Police. They led me back to their station where we reviewed everything they had so far. It wasn't long before a state trooper and I headed out to take a drive along the highway where the notes were found. We stopped at each gas station, and I inspected every square inch of each one. I stayed in a hotel close to the station. The first night that I was there, I stayed up late reviewing the evidence and statements, studying the photographs and making notes. Around 4 in the morning, I started to review my notes and findings that I had written down throughout the night. I was about to finally go to sleep when I started making the connection. It was only a theory, but it was more than what the local police were doing. The following day, I returned to the station. Before anyone could offer me, anything, I requested to go for another drive. I asked for the same officer as the previous day, and he was happy to oblige. Small talk was made as we drove along the highway. I started to ask subtle questions, officer to agent kind of conversation. The guard that he held up from yesterday was starting to go down, and I could tell I was starting to gain his trust. I'm still not sure to this day how he didn't realize it was an interrogation. When we arrived back at the police station, I asked the captain if he would like to go for a coffee, and he agreed. I could tell he knew that I had found something. When we were out of hearing range from the others, I started to explain to him that the state trooper who took me on the ride to investigate each gas station wasn't being completely honest. It turns out, he wasn't on duty the night of the party. No one could account for his whereabouts the night of the 15th. The captain explained how the trooper had come in with different clothes the following day. He said he had spilled wine on his uniform, and it was at the cleaners. The state trooper was taken into a formal investigation room. I had the honors of doing the interrogation. Most people ask for a lawyer right away. Some people talk excessively to try and sound more innocent. Some people don't talk at all. He didn't do any of those things. When I asked him about his whereabouts the night of the disappearance, he shrugged his shoulders and let out a sigh. I asked again about 5 more times, but each response he gave was the same. It wasn't until 2 hours into the investigation that I got a confession. After countless interrogation tactics with no incriminating answers, I finally just asked, "Did you kill Tabitha Gallo?" His glassy green eyes darted from the floor to immediate eye contact. I asked again, "Did you kill Tabitha Gallo?" This time, it came off unintentionally aggressive. His mouth started to form a smile that only a monster could make. Every single one of his teeth showing. It was a wide and telling smile. Before I could ask him once more, he leaned in close to my face, never breaking eye contact. He leaned in even closer and whispered, "And I would do it again." We never found her body, and he still won't give up any information on where she is. Knowing that he's rotting away in prison doesn't help either. It still hurts. After that, I decided to leave the FBI and leave the police business behind me. How could I save anyone if the real monsters are the same people who claim to save and protect you?